There are times in life where you see like things really don't make sense, and we know it's bad for us, but for some reason we as a people always want to keep that notorious thing going because we're afraid that things will either get worse or not. So it gets to a point where hey, let's just get away from all this. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird to me what all this is going on because it ain't gonna mean anything to you. But what's funny is when people try to justify, war criminals going ahead and overstepping their boundary and stuff and trying to tell me that international law doesn't matter as much as stopping dictatorships. That is so stupid. But anyway, that's why we're talking about it here tonight on Welcome to the J-Man Show here on
J360 Radio!
So how's it going, J360 Legion? What is happening? It's J-Man here, of course, for episode 375 of the J-Man Show, and I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing pretty good. I'm just sitting here wondering why my PSP is screeching at me, but then again, I haven't played the thing since like 2011, so yeah, actually it still does work, and I have Final Fantasy IV complete, so no, I haven't completed it yet, but I have that game sitting right here, along with not just Final Fantasy IV, it also has Final Fantasy IV Interquel and Final Fantasy IV The After Years. And I haven't not had a chance to play The After Years as much as I'd like to. So it's like, this is high time to go ahead and replay this, and once again, revisiting a series I love. It's sentimental! And not to mention, I'm glad to see my PSP is still in working order and reading discs, so that's a beautiful thing. However, because the technology is old, it screeches at me. And the thing about it is, Tin Man need oil, so I gotta go inside of it, and I gotta go ahead and, oil like certain parts of it. You know what I mean? To make sure that it actually plays without a hitch. It's kind of like how at the time I had this to some of my PS2 because of the ribbon issue. See, I have a slim PS2. I would like to get a fat one and actually modify by putting the back of it in with emulated games. But, hey, we'll look into that later. But right now, you gotta use what you have, because prices around the world are ridiculous. And a lot of you can say, well, that's resale stuff, Jay. That's retro stuff. It doesn't affect you. My God, have you not seen the prices over at DK Oldies and Lukey Games and all the rest of these secondhand shops? I mean, I want to say Second and Charles does pretty well, but, at the end of the day, it depends on the time of day and if you get there before the price hike goes around, and that could happen at any time. Because, yes, reselling has led to this, and people have paid attention and said, hey, if such and such made this amount of money by flipping, then guess what? I can make the same amount of money too, because that's business for me. See, a long time ago, thrift shops, they were like, all right, just put it in the section where the electronics are. Nobody's going to buy it. But you see now that people are going back to retro, analog, and everything else, and not just buying like when they make the new stuff. They'll go ahead and they'll go to get the old stuff, and they realize they can make a mint off of it because of the stuff that's made of, or the fact that it's ease of use, or whatever the case may be. And not to mention, sometimes telling these companies around us to go suck a big one is very empowering. So, it's like when you look into like retro stuff and things, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's always the upkeep that really kind of gets you in the end. One way or another, it's always something, is what I'm saying. But going down to it, though, I am going to get this PSP fixed, and I am going to be playing Final Fantasy IV on that, in addition to finishing up the Pixel remaster on Switch. And you know what? I may just play it on PlayStation, because I'm going to do that too. Well, my PlayStation 4 and 5. And I can't make fun of Al anymore, because I remember when Al bought like multiple copies of one of the Madden games. I was like, why are you going to keep on doing that? And now he's got something on me because I got the same with Final Fantasy IV. Oh, well, you know, what does Spider-Man say off of Family Guy? Everybody gets one. So, yeah, it's one of them kind of things. But, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this. I got some Q-tips. I need to get the 3-in-1 oil. And, you know, I got all my stuff sitting over there at the workshop right now. And speaking of things, you guys are probably noticing that I'm on, that I'm over here on... Let's see, let me turn that stuff off. What the hell? That I'm over here on J360 Radio right now. Sorry about that. Notifications kept popping up. But yeah, I'm on J360 Radio tonight instead of J360 TV. One, because I wanted to test it out on the different systems that I have. So I'm on a whole nother system. Matter of fact, I think this is the system during the second upgrade phase that I went through that I started using a lot of the J360 Radio material with. So I believe I'm doing pretty good with that, and it feels good to be on the big station right now. Yes. And then not only that, I had to go ahead and do some modifications to the other system that I use on the go. So, you know, right now this is all about prototyping and actually doing different strategies for you all. And like I said before, you never know. We might have to come back to J360 Radio right now because some programs and some platforms you just can't trust like anything. And since YouTube and Google bent the knee, you know, not as bad as Facebook did. Facebook didn't just bend the knee to Trump. Facebook went all up in bed with Trump. And you can take that any way you want to. It's either a good boon to them, or it's like, you know, the day after when you realize you made a terrible mistake. I don't know. And a lot of these other companies do this stuff instead of just standing up to them saying, no. That's all you got to do sometimes. You know, like when it's something that's immoral, unethical, and ridiculous, say no. Like really stand up to people. I mean, we all want to talk about how strong we are, how incredible we are, and all this other kind of stuff. But see, the thing about it is, a quiet fury is just as dangerous as sudden rage. So I just want you to know that. And you see, the thing about it is that when people say they're going to remember something like this, you might want to pay attention to that. Because I've noticed a lot of people here in the independent game, as well as like those in mainstream media, that be over there feeling themselves. And see, the thing about it is, people are really not liking those ego strokes that are going on these days. If you are losing one way or another, it's going to show one way or another. You cannot hide yourself from these things. And I look at it a lot with a lot of people that are saying, you know, Trump's in office, I can do whatever I want to do now. Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? I can go ahead and be as unethical as need be. Yeah, you'll have your day in the sun. But you see, the thing about it is, when nightfall rolls around and things become a lot different, and they usually do, that's something to be aware of. Like some of the people that you nickeled and dimed and flipped on and everything else, chances are they might have their day to go ahead and give you that comeuppance in order. That invoice that they're going to bring to you. Doing all that nonsense. And that goes for anybody that think they can shortchange anybody in this time. See, the thing about the man that you idolize, and I mean some of y'all idolize this man to the tits, man. It's really disgusting. Like that false worshiping and all that kind of stuff that people do to celebrities or rich people or those that they will never ever see. But you see, the thing about it is with old boy over there, he got to be in everybody's business. Like if you know, I could send something out there on Twitter right now and his ignorant ass will believe it. You understand what I'm saying? It's the funniest thing in the world when it comes to this. And not to mention all them nutbags and ice and all that kind of stuff. It is ridiculous. You notice you never seen anything of the Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, or any of those other overzealous fascists, right? Because they're all in ice. They are all in that group. So it's just one of them things where you got to be careful. You got to be aware of things. But it's also that other thing whereas it went somewhere. Okay, it didn't just go quietly. It didn't just mute itself. It didn't just disband. It went somewhere. And like you see, everybody else will go ahead and throw in their 2 cents. They'll throw in all this stuff about what happened in Venezuela, all that kind of stuff. The point being is that the United States is in a bad way right now. And we couldn't be more divided. And we couldn't be more in depth and finger pointing at each other and all sorts of horrible things. And I know like a lot of y'all are like, I'm tired of politics, I'm tired of this stuff, it's all gonna fall. You gave up. Okay? See, the thing about America is due for a good change. America is due for a lot of better things. And we just, as a matter of fact, I think we just crossed the milestone with the debt, right? Aren't we like over 35 trillion in debt now? And people keep talking about this thing, but they never solve it. People keep talking about all this stuff, but they never solve it. It is the weirdest thing to me. And then, of course, you know, all that stuff about us not going to war, all that stuff about there wouldn't be no war in Trump's time, but you're looking at all this stuff and you're seeing like seeds of it. And not just within America, because we just had our anniversary of January 6th, which pretty much is Insurrection Day, but it is a terrible thing because people, once again, did not agree to the terms of an election, and they were so adamant about fighting for this man who don't care about them, and he's not political in the sense of being presidential. He's political in the idea of being president for life and being a dictator himself. And he even said America was okay with dictators. But all this lying and all of this carrying a false face and everything happened out of 2025. And 2026 is shaping up to be pretty much the expansion DLC to this crap. And all this could have been avoided in November 2024. It's like, this is why elections are important. So any of them people that try to tell you like, well, you know, they put in whoever they want to put. It's like, shut the F up. Shut up. Obviously, it doesn't make sense when you say that. Because here's the thing. They want you to be non-involved. They want you to be ignorant. They want you to hate everything. They want you to be upset about stuff. Which is why, like, when the infodemic came around, and that's when there was, like, a whole lot of anybody saying anything, and a whole lot of misinformation here, because they make more money off of misinformation. They make more money off of your misery and everything, and they want you to be in debt for stuff that they done told you that your advancement costs too much money, or you having a house, or anything that you want for yourself, which is pretty much rites of passages because you work hard enough for them. You go to that job for a reason. You don't go to a job to feel good, right? You go to that job because you'll make money so that you can buy important things and make a standard for yourself, and then, like, you know, provide something for your kids, you know, as you're alive and as you're gone. You know what I mean? But everybody likes to cut each other down over anything. Like, the race to the bottom is still a race, yes. But you see, the thing about it is a every person race because everybody's losing one way or another. You see what I'm saying? It's more level play field than anything. And if somebody gets that moment to rise, oh yeah, you want to cut that from them, don't you? Because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel important. And that is the most pathetic way to live a life. Just like how some people are afraid of the internet or afraid of somebody saying something bad about them. The thing about it is people are going to say bad things about anybody these days. You know? Or any other day, for that matter. People probably say a hell of a lot of things about me, but it doesn't really fucking matter because I'm still doing my own damn thing regardless what. Like, even as I'm here on J360 Radio, or I'm over there on J360 TV, or I'm over there building something else, a lot of people love to tell me why I can't make it. But the thing about it is, I'd have made a liar of them because I did make it. The hell with them. You understand what I'm saying? And as I say this all to you guys, that's different for me because I'm not a politician. I'm not in a political office. This is stuff that I made, and this is stuff that I'm doing. But you see, United States and its bizarre 250 years of existence, if they want to call it that, because, my God, I mean, you know, all that stuff that went on in the construction of everything around here, bringing people out of their homes against their wills here. Slavery was never a choice. PragerU is going to lie and say, oh, well, slavery wasn't that bad. How the hell would you know? Did you ask the slaves, or did you ask the person that went ahead and took somebody out of basic human rights and owned them to see if the master cares? You got to think about this for a minute. Like, all this stuff is outside of the shock value and everything else. It's just stupid anymore. And like, people who are about apartheid, try to make America apartheid, or try to make America more and more of a class imbalance. They're the ones that are so scared of people rising up and equating them and telling them, hey, you know what? To hell with you. We're building something to compete against you. The one thing I've noticed in this country alone is, by the way, I apologize for the lip smacking. I'm working on it. The one thing I've noticed is that this climate is so scared of competition. Like, you think about mainstream media for a moment. Mainstream media is so hollowed out and so thirsty for content. Of course they're doing what they can to throttle people. Because before, we lost net neutrality, nobody was paying attention to mainstream media. Because a lot of us in the creative game, when we had our access to all of these things, whether it be Adobe at one point, whether it be Final Cut Pro, whether it be ULEAD Video Studio, even though it's not really ULEAD anymore. It's, moving on for sake of time. Sony Vegas, God willing, but you use that and that was enough. And you made your content. You put it out there. You had a good time with it. No algorithm to please nothing. Everything was right there at your beck and call. And it was just you had to go real far for it. Now, of course, you're going to have people that come up and say stupid things or try to throw up messages that, show a lot of false interest or whatever. But that's just luck of the draw, and that's just what people do. People are ridiculous. But when it comes right down to it, you didn't really have too much of a barrier then. However, when net neutrality went away and all those big businesses started using the internet to have speed lanes and throttle and move people in the independent game or small creators or whatever out of the fast lanes and stuff, that became a problem. Now you saw the imbalance take place. Then you saw that algorithm came along because probably some rich people were saying, how come they're not paying attention to me, but they're paying attention to somebody else who has more talent and actually a character than I do. Or, when it comes to some people saying, hey, somebody else is looking at somebody else's art instead of mine. That's not right. Believe me, there are some petty, rich people of privilege and power out here who have no talent. They got the funds, yeah, but they have no talent, no personality, none of the stuff that they're jealous of anybody else out there about. And that's why they're so obsessed with it. That whole Superman principle where, Lex Luthor hates Superman, basically because he's jealous of Superman. Basically because people find Superman a hell of a lot more interesting than him, even though he is one of the smartest people in comics and all. And yeah, I know, fictional characters, but it's still a truth to that. It doesn't matter how successful somebody else is. Even me, say if I lived in a hovel or whatever, but I still had the ability to do this show and bring in a bunch of people to enjoy this show, where somebody else can have the top tiers of any sort of resource or whatever in this world and have everything come to them and have the finest women or whatever the case may be, they would still be jealous of me doing what I love to do. They would be more obsessed with me than any of their success in the world. It's sad, but it's true. And I know a lot of people I used to work with, they're still sitting right there. They're mad at me because I kept going, kept carrying on, doing the things that I like to do. You know what I mean? It's yeah, I didn't need you. And it really hurts a sociopath and a narcissist when you tell them you don't need them. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you beat people like Trump. That's how you beat bullies all over the place. Because, I don't know, some of y'all are crazy enough, or maybe this is your first time, but this is my second time seeing stuff like this, especially the political spectrum. And, I think about it a lot where, why are you reasoning with him? Why are you attempting to reason with him? And it's not just because of the cognitive dissonance, but at the same time, he don't care. He's been this way. Matter of fact, he's a lot more brazen now because a lot of his lieutenants are in certain spots that tell him no. And he wants to fire everybody and then some and whatever. But the thing about it is, we all defy the man anyway because of our communities and because of the things that we like to do. Or we're not going to purchase this. Or we'll go ahead and we'll find other ways. We use our freedom of choice to do things differently. And not to mention, we educate ourselves. Which, by the way, you're noticing he's trying to wipe out all the stuff that is important for our enrichment. Here's the thing. It's not going to be him on the front line of any damn thing else. And you've seen that in January 6th. But the wild stuff about it is that people will defend this man, try to say justifiable reasons, or I'm just following orders. It didn't work for the Nazis back then. It damn sure shouldn't work for anybody now, as you noticed. And the haves and have-not principle around here does not help America win, and neither does invading a country. And you know what? Pretty much disposing somebody that you claim is worse than you. Yeah, sure, Maduro has a track record, but let's just be perfectly honest here. This man went ahead and made everybody in America unsafe in a global spectrum now because of what he just did. And it's pissing off our allies, and it's pissing off the people who work with us. And it's going to take a hell of a lot of ass-kissing and diplomacy to get that trust back until he gets out of office or whatever. It's one of them things that you as a person looks at and stuff like that. But I had somebody kindly come up and tell me something so stupid, and I caught them because they were laughing at a video that I shared on Instagram. And it's funny when this happens. But this man, the main video was talking about like how dangerous it is to have Trump in office and everything, and didn't mention anything about Venezuela. This moron decides to go ahead and laugh at the video, and I said, okay, maybe there's a good take here. So I asked him what it was, and the guy was over here saying, no, Maduro had to go away. Get rid of dictatorships is a lot more important than international law. It was always some nonsense coming from him, and I thought it was the most cutest thing because it was stupid. You know what I mean? I was in the mood for a laugh, and then I looked at this thinking it was going to be a real conversation, but it wasn't. It became a who's on worse argument. You know what I mean? Who got it worse? Who got the worst racists in the world? Who got the worst kind of, dictatorial people? Who's got the worst leaders in the world? All that kind of nonsense. It's semantics. Semantics is the way where, hey, well, for instance, what if this and what if that? You know what I mean? Kids do this crap. They all try to outdo each other at a comparison, will they, won't they kind of scenario. And it's stupid after a while because, it sounds like they're talking, looks like they're talking, but they're not saying anything. It's just static versus static at that point. It's kind of like, say, like if somebody did something wrong. I remember one time, like, somebody in my family, went to my PlayStation 4, and instead of just like, because we were all watching movies that day, and the NFL was coming on, she went over there to the PlayStation 4. Instead of pressing the button of the PlayStation 4 to turn it off, she went and grabbed the plug and pulled it out. Yeah, that could have been a live wire. It could have shocked her. It could have been a whole lot of things go wrong, let alone the system bricking or whatever the case may be. And not only would I have been out of $300, but if this person hurt themselves, I'd have to go take them to the hospital or whatever because they don't know the difference between, manually turning things off or what a hard reset live wire is. And that's just how stupid some people are in the world. When they do stupid things like that, you look at them, you're like, play dumb games, win dumb prizes, right? But you see, in that scenario that I'm telling you about, it's the same thing for like what this conversation with this other individual was, because that person, who shall remain nameless in my family, by the way, tried to reason with me, what if kids were around? There were no damn kids at this event. And even if there were, they would not do anything nearly as ridiculous as you just did. That's silly. See what I'm saying? But that's grown people against grown people at that point. But going into this story again with this individual that's over here trying to say we of Venezuela and South America love what Trump did. I'm like, stop you right there. Say no more. Say no more. See, when you notice this, right? I like it when people try to ascribe themselves as orders of the people, as like, they speak for everybody when it's really a selfish ideal, like such as this is their opinion, but now because they want to have some sort of weight to their opinion, they try to make it seem like it's the opinion of everybody. If it was the opinion in the right way of everybody in Venezuela, how come quite a bit of people in the Venezuelan country are scared and sitting right there wanting Maduro to come back? Have you seen him? I mean, it's like right out there in front of you. So, but here's the funny thing. When one person on an internet forum tries to talk about, like, it wasn't even a forum, it was a DM. But when somebody tries to go ahead and appeals this whole thing and tries to make it seem like they're speaking for everybody in South America, or they're speaking for everybody in whatever little section of the world is, I just look at them and I'm like, you're full of shit, because you're not speaking for everybody, you're speaking for you. It's one thing if you like Trump, if you're a fan of Trump, that's fine. Don't bother me when he abuses you, because it's a coming. So it's just like when somebody's in an abusive relationship and had all of the ways and the abilities to get out of said abusive relationship and decides to go back over there for pancakes or whatever, and the person says, you know, I didn't mean to do that to you, right? You know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mistreat you. You know, it ain't gonna be like that. But in like the first 5 minutes of after that, that person is gonna inflict all the abuse again, and then all of a sudden the cycle continues. It's one way or another. People love to do that stuff. And then I also notice when people from other countries are having their outside looking in, some of them people go through dictatorships all the time. Some people are used to leaderships like this. They just didn't get caught and stuff like that. And there's quite a lot of areas in South America where they go through this kind of leadership from people like Maduro. He's just in the news right now. But you see, the thing about it is, once again, Maduro didn't do all that stuff here in the United States for us to go and attack him, did he? Like nobody that in Venezuela wrote to Trump and said, Trump, can you do something about this? After he done spent money bailing out another country from their debt and all that kind of crap. But we can't even get money for kids on SNAP. Or taking away people's health cares and not extending health cares and stuff. And it's just, it's so unbelievable in this country what priorities that, you know, it's just like, where does it end? And you're sitting there for a little bit and you're thinking that things could change, but they have not changed because people don't want them to change, or people are so scared of how much money they're allegedly losing. Let me just tell you this. What with the tariffs, what with the data centers, what with all these other extra shits that are being thrown around here, and people not be able to buy houses or paying their student loans and stuff like that, right there's no way out of that nonsense. All of that stuff right there is holding people down in the country. There's no progressiveness in there. The carnage that came along is when that man got elected the first time and this time. So the funny part about it is, when people tell me that stuff, I really don't want to hear what the hell you have to say, because there is no growth taking center stage here. And not only that, when that big, beautiful nonsense got passed, it's not going to go at you all in a huff. It's going to go at you in spades, in phases. You know what I mean? Like, trickle down time it comes in. Diminishing returns coming in play. And not only that, you know, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't even going to dive into this Trump stuff. Because, you know, I said enough about this man in the first 4 seasons of this very program you're listening to. But another thing, to the point where he bores me. It doesn't surprise me what him, Stephen Miller, Russell Volt, or any of these people are trying to do. Especially with Peter Thel, or anybody from Palantir, you know, the schizophrenic narcissists over there that need to be all up in our business, in addition to the ones that run social media properties. All of those things that are going on when you think about it. They are so obsessed with us, it is ridiculous. They do not need to know what I ate or what I do in between my job and all this other kind of stuff. They don't need to know any of these things. Do you understand what I'm saying? But they're banking on the fact that we love convenience. They're banking on the fact that we'll buy this technological devices and we will not read the contracts of technological devices or anything. Yes, they're boring and dry, and they're purposely made to do that because they're hoping that you don't read these things. And those of you that want to be famous or want to be, a big player in music and filmmaking and everything else, I mean, I agree. I am. I mean, that's why I got J360 Productions. But look, the idea is this. Do you know why it took me a while sometimes to actually do the programs and all? Because I have to write contracts. I have to do admin work all the time. and doing admin work is part of an executive's life. A real executive, not like any of these people that are running around flexing on you saying they're executives and stuff like that. They ain't did no amount of work in years. And some probably haven't, looking at Musk. But the idea is this. When I tell you these things, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm giving you awareness. But the idea is, though, you can't idolize these people. I mean, you got all this stuff going on, but you got these billionaires over here trying to dictate and trump and move around and say all these horrible things about people and stuff like that. And it could be skin tone. It could be a lot of reasons why they dislike people. Could be a lot of reasons. But the idea is, though, it ain't making our lives any easier or better. Now, when I went on that whole thing, it does make sense because we're about to get right back into this story here. So, to my South American friend that was happily telling me his BS, I was looking over at what he was saying, and I told him to say no more. And he kept trying to say a bunch of things. He kept trying to act like he was slamming, but the thing about it is, he was blowing his own shit in his face. Because the truth about it is that I already know what you're all about when you try to justify racism or people trying to take away basic human rights from other people or pretty much champion a group of people who are out here just basically harassing people. Well, now they have spilt blood too because of what happened to that poor unfortunate woman in Minnesota. But see, the thing about it is this. Among other things, you can't go around here and saying that this is for the good of anybody. This isn't for the good of anybody. This is about control, and this is a more ridiculous way of control because people are not going to take being bullied forever. I'm sorry, but they're not. And not only that, when it comes right down to speaking on behalf of people in South America and everything else, if that country destabilizes, the United States will have a lot more than bills to pay when it comes to that. That is a black mark on that is another black mark upon other black marks in this society and in this American history. They're going to do whatever they can to try to fluff that, and they're going to try to flip that. They're going to try to do all that kind of stuff, whatever the case may be, and it ain't working. Because we all kind of seen that stuff, and as far as I'm concerned, they try to cover up January 6th. They did not do a good job of that, by the way. So, all this kind of stuff going on, it is ridiculous because Incompetent Inc. has found a way, sure, using technology to do such, doing whatever they can to silence critics and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you'll notice that they have gone to the wayside. And when I see people try to champion them, these people don't realize that they look just as foolish as they do. You understand what I'm saying? And as this guy was talking about this, I said, didn't I tell you I don't need to hear anything else? I said, now you just said your piece, but I've heard enough, and I have things to work on, and your messaging is in the way right now. And that being said, I happily gave him the boot and threw his corny-ass music out there with him because he was a musician, and really thinking about it, his stuff actually blew, and I never asked for tracks for jams ever again, and I think he's either too blazed out or too stupid to understand nobody wants to work with him. So he can go sit on that high hill until, whatever the hell happens. Because people will say, I'm from Brazil. The refugees over here. Yeah, there's refugees anywhere, dude. But at the same time, you got people who's champion this, but you got a hell of a lot of people who are scared right now. And you see, I'm not one of them. And the thing about it is, looking back on it, that video wasn't even mine. But when I noticed that when I share videos and stuff like that, these are people that have different perspectives, different conversations, and they talk about how things are affecting them in their neighborhood. But needless to say, when you have certain people that did whatever the hell he did, and he's sitting over there talking that nonsense, you're not even in the same country. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, isn't Brazil going through some stuff right now too? But hey, look, not important. What's important is that, like I'm saying right now, we don't know what's next. Could it be World War III? Could it be other issues going down? Could it be stuff that, you think about it if you had kids. You want to see your kids grow up. And there's that scary moment where your son or daughter That's right, Pete Hertridge, or whatever the fuck your name is. Hergage, I think. Whatever, I don't care. Secretary, Department of War, whatever. And other than that, it's Department of Defense, you jerks. But anyway, women and men do a lot for the armed services. And the thing about it is, you got to respect your female veterans as much as your male veterans. And then while we're on the subject here, take care of all your veterans, especially the ones that you forgot. And not to mention, there's that scary time where your son or daughter could be a veteran, giving their lives to the service and all, and they get put in some situations beyond their control for some BS. You understand what I'm saying? And not to mention, we just got out of Iraq. We just got out of Afghanistan, even though we have some people over there. But it's not a good look for us to be invading other countries, sovereign nations and stuff like this, as a way of trying to get blood money. And you see the ones that are in charge doing this crap. And not only that, if our voices didn't have power, if we didn't have the power to stand up to any of this tyranny and all, they wouldn't be so hard to try to mute us, to get rid of us, to send us anywhere else, whatever the case may be. You got to think about it. Now, world peace could be possible, but you got a lot of people on the, that aren't about it, that are in places of power now, instead of people who work hard, play hard, and can actually fight back. A lot of y'all out here, I know there's some of y'all that can. And I know that there's some of y'all that are looking at this stuff and you really don't know what to say, but, you use your voice and you speak up and you really look at this stuff. Look at it from now, because we're only we're not even a full week entirely in. This is our first week of 2026, and we done found a way to mess this stuff up worse. You understand what I'm saying? And see, when you have people who don't care, a lot of y'all be like this, I don't care about looks, I don't care about this and that. Well, that is exactly why the hell things stay the same, isn't it? They just stay the same and they get worse. Y'all were so scared of this crap from Kamala Harris and all that kind of stuff, but you're in here now. So you must have tolerance. Or at the same time, you wonder exactly which way is up out of all this. And me, on the other hand, well, you know what? I just look at you. Because, I do what I need to do, guys. But when it comes right down to it, I love it when Republicans think I'm a Democrat. And I love it when Democrats think I'm a Republican. You don't know what the hell I am. At one time, I was just, guy, listen to you talk. Do what you do. And at another time, I'm just a guy trying to get through life. But don't be over here saying things to make yourself feel comfortable at night. But you don't know. And that goes for anybody else out here. The ones that seemingly don't care, the ones that all that kind of stuff, you really need to pay attention. But it's wild, though, because, see, one way or another, everybody's throwing semantics around. Nobody's really saying anything. People are not listening to experts about things anymore, or giving them a chance to talk. But everybody else wants to listen to a podcast by Burnout sitting here talking about what life should be like for them. And they can go and do whatever they want to do. Have you noticed, before we got to this, a lot of right-wingers were actually over here complaining about things, and they still had the ability to make money, but avarice and greed is a bitch, ain't it? You gotta think about this. And all of the clues and all of the things are right there in front of you. Well, it's been a good run, right? But like I say, as I say that, we still got, 11 months and 3 weeks to go of this year. And like I said, the other shoe hasn't dropped yet, so you just really got to pay good attention. And you got to understand is, don't be afraid to cut people off. Don't be afraid to walk away and move on from people. You know what I mean? Some clubs were fun to go to, but you know what? The management of it now stinks, and it's time for me to leave. It's little things like that. It's just why sometimes it seems like I go from platform to platform sometime. Oh, sorry about that. I'm over here writing something, and my pencil accidentally hit the mic. But anyway, You know, it's one of them kind of things that you think about from time to time. And, yeah, man. Where do we go from here? But I'm hoping for good things. I'm hoping for the best. And let me tell you this, though. We can bounce back from this, but gotta stop playing who's on worst. Gotta stop playing all that stuff about, like, oh, well, we got blah, 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 you got blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Everybody's connected one way or another. We all gonna see some crazy stuff. From this year to next year and the year after that. But, you know, gotta stay tuned to see where we go. But I got to get on out of here, though. So I'm working on J360 Jams 130 right now. It is open for submission, so if anybody wants to submit tracks, you can. Email me at j360jams@gmail.com. And, you know, take care of yourselves until then, all right? I got to get going, so see y'all later. This is J-Man signing off. Peace.